an article about the iPhone 12
Oh,
mini,
yeah.
which I don't know what that means. What is a mini? Is it going to be like
Yeah, seriously.
the same? I mean, isn't the watch a mini now that it is able to place calls without having to have a phone in your pocket?
Right. You can, yeah, from what they say. I've never tried it. I don't have one.
Yeah, I don't have one either. Have you ever like? I mean, I can see that there definitely is a place for the iWatch in the world, but I don't necessarily care about like all of the different things that it can provide you. I don't need an EKG every day. As long as my heart is beating, I don't need to know. You don't need to remind me every day of how it's beating. Maybe that'll change later in life or something like that. But
Right.
I've got analog watches. I love my analog watches. And what's funny is that, when I'm wearing my analog watch, I still look at my phone for the time. So,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've never gotten into the Apple Watch thing at all, so I don't know. I would like to stop looking at my phone.
Yeah.
I think that might be something worth pursuing, and I'm not saying it needs to be an Apple Watch. But I don't wear watches either. So I've thought about getting like a Garmin GPS watch because I've been doing so much trail riding and stuff, and I would like it for hiking, and I just want to track that
to know
kind of
where
stuff,
you're at.
the fitness stuff,
Yeah.
and like to know where you're at and things like that. But I don't want to spend $600 on one either, so I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
Because that's how much they cost,
Exactly. And every time I turn around, I'm like, I really actually prefer, because I don't have an iPad. And I was like, well, I think I'd get more use out of the iPad than I would out of a Apple Watch. And if I'm going to spend the money for an Apple Watch, why not spend it on the iPad that you probably will use more?
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I've had a lot of iPads, so I'm criticizing the Apple Watch because it seems like the upgrade cycle on that is once a year or once every 2 years, and the iPad is probably longer than that. But, man, I've had quite a few iPads too, and I barely use that thing as well. So,
but, to be quite honest with you, I mean, I'm currently sitting at my work desk, and I have a PC and 2 monitors and a Mac. And a computer and a sketch tablet. What else do I really need? I mean, do I need anything else?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Can I complicate my life any more than it already is with devices? Oh yeah, and a watch and the phone and all of the.
Yeah.
I think when I sent you a shot of, and this was before I kind of like changed things out and have the Mac on the desktop as well as the laptop, the PC. And the screen tablet. So now I literally have 5 screens plus the phone to stare at.
That's kind of overload.
That's too much. I don't think my mind really can handle that kind of information overload.
It's kind of like digital, I don't want to say, it's like clutter, right? Because they say that, the whole idea behind like that Marie Kondo, spark joy your life kind of stuff is that if you walk around your house and you see piles of stuff, it puts kind of subconscious stress on you because there's a pile there, and like everybody knows that everybody's house is full of piles, right? So they're always talking about kind of this ideal state, but I thought that was interesting from a psychological perspective to come at it from a psychological perspective, because it's very much about the clutter is doing things to you that you're not really aware of. And so now if you kind of extend that to the digital, right, and you've got 5 screens with a bunch of different things on it, and none of them like really, it's hard to find like which one's in the front, which one's in the back, which one do you focus on? Are the other ones, are they all equal as far as importance goes and what you need to pay attention to? That, man, I bet it's doing the same thing, and it might even be worse, because not only is it's not just a static pile, it's dynamic content with notifications and all kinds of stuff.
Well, okay, so I have email up, and I've got maybe a Word document or an Excel file, and I've got Revit up, and I've got Bluebeam up, and I've got all of these different things up, and I'm kind of like jumping back and forth between all of these different things. And so
you're not really jumping at all. Your eyes are darting around.
Yeah. And it's just, so I have all of this information coming in, and I always question it. Am I like really giving the one task, it's like prioritizing the tasks, and am I giving that one all of its due so that I can get that one done right and I can go on to the next one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, that's why there was such a big push on the Mac at one point to do these full screen apps, right? And they learned that from the iPad and the iPhone, because it actually did take away from the distraction of the other stuff. And obviously it comes down to personal behavior as well, because you have to stay disciplined to stay in the thing and get into a flow state so that you're actually putting the, like you said, like putting the due where it's due. Like it's got to be, because all these little windows that are overlapping each other, and they're all kind of similar colors, and like I said, there's no real priority to any of it, that all of a sudden it becomes really hard to stay in one place. And so are you really being effective?
Exactly. And what makes it even worse is I'll dock, because I've got like larger screens. So I've got 2 of those, and then I've got a 15-inch monitors for everything else, and I can even have the tablet as a monitor itself. And so I'm docking, like I've got Word on one half of the screen, and I've got Excel on the other half of the screen. Then I've got my email and all that other stuff on like the tablet screen, so that I can have on a full screen Revit and on another full screen Bluebeam, so that I can like look back and forth and compare things and make sure that I'm like coordinating things properly and all this other stuff. And so I'm like, I've taken my 5 screens and I've turned them into potentially 10 screens, and it's just like, and I have all of those minimized apps, and it's just like, holy crap, how can your brain stay up and focused on that thing? Maybe there is something to the more analog world of just focusing on a task that you can do with your hands, whether it's your hands and turning a wrench, or your hands like moving a pencil. At least you're kind of focused on that task and that performance of the task, so that you aren't like distracted by the shiny red ball over here or the shiny red ball over there.
That's what I love about going on a mountain bike ride or doing a rock climb, is that you're forced to be in the moment, because if you're not, you're going to be in a dangerous situation potentially. And it's not like it requires a dangerous situation to get you into the moment. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it requires all of your attention, because that's what it requires. And we've gotten away from that. And by kind of leveling the playing field, as it were, with all of these screens, and I don't know if you've tried this over the years, but I have, and I've failed every time, which is to try to only check email twice a day or something like that. Some version of that. Like actually quit the app so that it can't be bonging in the background and letting you know, like teasing you, right? Like, hey, nudge, nudge. This thing's happening over here. Somebody else just threw something in your to-do list, right? Which is bananas, right? That's what it is. It's somebody else's to-do list for you, and you check it like a slave.
Well, and I don't know if it's my diluted notion of my particular position and the job that I have to perform on the project, that, I need to be available every second of every day during the work hours and make sure that everybody has, but I mean, this was a good example this, past week. We had what's called the tech review meetings with the owner and their facilities department, and throughout School of Medicine and everybody else, all basically review our documents, write out comments that they would like to review with us to make sure that we're all on the same sheet. So had those meetings, and people were like, bombarding me with emails. Now, it was actually a light week of emails, only because a lot of the people who would normally be emailing me were in those meetings as well. But, people were like, hey, I sent you this email. Did you get a chance to look at it? I'm like, you know where I've been. You know what I'm doing. I mean, if I'm super hyper focused on looking at like these, like Zoom chats or things like that, I'm not going to actually be in the moment of providing the client with what they deem is the more important thing, is my attention. And so, it's just like, no, I didn't get a chance. And they're like, oh, well, I was looking for some input on this. I'm like, Okay.
Yep. And you
And
just
so
don't just get it back by default, like because you wanted it.
right. Right. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
part of
So
it is training yourself, right, to have the discipline, but it's also kind of training other people, which is kind of what you're talking about, which is don't expect this to be the bat phone because it's not, right? This is not my priority.
yeah.
This is a communication device that it falls somewhere in the stack. It's not at the top.
Well, so speaking of the priority, you were like, everybody else's urgency is your urgency now.
Right.
And so I will get an email from somebody. But then sure enough, like maybe 5 minutes go by and a Zoom notification will pop up and say, "Hey man, did you see the email that I just sent you?"
We've talked about that on this show before, and like how annoying that is when somebody sends you an email and then walks over by your desk and says, "Hey, did you get my email?"
Exactly. You're like,
so now you've got the digital version of that.
Exactly. So now we've come to the stage in life just because of and what's even funny is even back when we were in the office and somebody would send you an email, then they would send Zoom chat or then walk over to your desk or it's unfortunate that some people have my personal cell phone and will text me or call me on my personal cell phone, ask me if I got their email. I'm like, God dang, I just can't run from it. And I'm not running from the responsibility of whatever it is that they're asking for that particular thing. But, now if it is something, and we've had this in the past where, if it is something that, like say the client is about to step into a meeting with people that they need to coordinate this project with, and they're like, say it's 11 o'clock and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to have a meeting at 12 o'clock. I need to provide this information. I don't have it readily available. Can you help me out?" Of course. I mean, that's a drop everything, help them out, because one of the benefits of our practice is providing a service for our clients, and we're there for them, and so that they will come back to us. I mean, the best marketing tool is word of mouth, right? And so they're like, okay, well, Evan, at least he's there and focused on what I need. Those are great, but I mean, it's come to the point right now where it feels like it's so abused to the point where you're almost like, what else can I actually do project-wise? I mean, people are like, "Hey, Cormac, can you take a look at this?" I'm like, I don't think I can because you've asked me to look at this, and somebody's asked me to look at that, and somebody's asked me to look at this, and somebody's asked me to look at that, and I need to answer these emails, and then I need to respond to all these comments, and then I need to do this, and I got a bunch of RFIs come in, and blah, 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 and it just stack, and you're just like, I start off every day prior to like actually firing up Zoom. So I will like go through emails and I will prioritize, like say I miss like a day of emails or 2 days of emails, and I'll go through and I'll prioritize who needs what, and are people just copying me on things, or do they actually like need something specific from me? And I'll write it all down with the intent of getting to all those things. And then I have my little highlighter and my pencil where I can kind of like go through my little notebooks, because what's even more is I have, all of these digital screens, and I have, and this, countless notebooks floating around my desk. I have just the regular old legal pad, and then I've got 2 different field notes, and then I've got, all these other things. So I'm like writing stuff down or sketching something out or doing something so much that now those, say, 2 to 3 notebooks are 2 to 3 additional screens. But I think in the notebook, the reason I always rely on the analog writing things down in the notebook is because if I write it down, I actually remember that it's something that needs to, have attention, brought to it. So
do you, when you go back and like cross things off, do you then, if you don't cross something off, move it to a new page? Or like, what's your kind of your own personal style of, because you never do everything, right?
True.
There's just no way to do it all. So what happens? Do you just keep going back to those old pages, or do you actually move content to new pages so that you don't have to go back to old pages? What's your method?
So I either do one of 2 things, and it all depends on like what notebook. If I'm just, like writing it in from, a notebook I pulled from the office supply closet, then yes, I will move it from page to page to page until it actually gets done as this constant nagging reminder, hey, you said you were going to do this yesterday, but you didn't. So now you're going to move it to today. if
45
it's in
days
my
later.
exactly, yes, yeah,
Then it doesn't deserve to be on the
mind.
list. Let's just say
well, yeah, and then but if I'm doing it in my field notes because
those pages are precious.
Because those pages are precious, then what I'll actually do is I have like the little sticky tabs, like the little red tabs or blue tabs or yellow tab type things. I have a bunch of those and I'll tab it. And if I tab it in red, it's something that means that this is a page that has content on it that needs to be addressed. And if I have addressed all of those things on the page, I'll just remove the tab.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like it's one of those red, yellow, green kind of things. Green just means that the tab is gone. Yellow means that, it's got some information. And I think they're blue actually is because I just have red and blue. Blue just means, this is information that needs to, either shoot off a new email or coordinate a meeting or something like that. But red is like, this information has got to get done, and dude, today has got to be the day, or dude, tomorrow's got to be the day, or the next day's got to be the day.
Yeah, right. No, really, this time, final.
Yeah. Oh my God, how many times do you have like save a new file and it's just like Evan Troxel renderings, final, Evan Troxel renderings, final 2, final 3, final 4.
Final 5B. No, really, this time.
Yeah, it's that red. It's that red tab that just keeps moving from
right.
the digital page, day to day. So
yeah. I kind of go back and forth between the digital capture and the analog capture, and man, it's so hard for me to stick with one. I just can't. I don't know. I guess I should just give up.
Me too. Well, yeah. I don't try. Everybody's like, "Oh, you could, what you're doing there. You could use this app." I'm like, I could, sure, but if you were to come to my desk, and I think anybody who knows me that's been like walking past my desk would see that I have scraps of paper, Post-its, sketchbooks. All of them are just like these, so they're on the left-hand side of my desk, because I'm left-handed, and so, but I use the mouse with the right hand. So, I mean, as one does. So I'm like clicking around, doing what I need to do with my right hand while my left hand's like making little notes. And it's just, sometimes people would walk by and they're like, how the hell are you doing that? That's just what I do. So like my brain kind of splits, it goes right and left. And so like on the left-hand side of my desk, I've got tons of like sticky notes and everything else. And so at the end of a project, you will see like this big pile of like sticky notes. And I might have drawn like a flashing detail. If I haven't like handed it off to somebody else to do, it will be sitting at my desk. And so I'll like use the Post-it notes and like cartoon out, the next step of
that's great.
Of details and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way, yeah. I wish that and somebody out there's got to know, but of me just being able to do that digitally so that other people can benefit from the method of my madness. But for some reason,
I like how you think of it as beneficial to others the way that you do.
Well, at least just the information
that
I'm just the information that I'm writing down is all I really want them to like take.
There is a 3M app or something where you take a picture in their app of your sticky note and it digitizes it and makes it a thing you can then move around in the digital world. But I'm kind of more envisioning you putting it on your monitor and the monitor seeing where it's coming and it just like pulls it in.
I'm gonna
into the digital space.
I'm gonna have to see if I can. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see if I can find, because every once in a great while I'll actually like take a picture of my monitor, and it'll almost have like a border, like in a classroom when a teacher puts up a border around the chalkboard, and so like you have like all of this information on the outside of the screen, but then you have like the screen itself, and most of mine are like either filled with like phone numbers of engineers or client numbers or sketches or, look at this elevator detail kind of thing. And so it's just like little notes to me. And as they as I don't need them, they come off. It's just like the thing that I do in my sketchbook. As I move beyond that detail, or that particular like note, then it comes off, and I make room for another sticky note that gets it. So if it's like literally stuck right in front of my face, I might actually remember it.